All right, guys on Facebook, welcome to the JB Show. This is a very special edition. I have Sieg with me here today. Ann is joining us. You saw me posting some things about retail arbitrage, and is retail arbitrage dead? And that's the topic today, is retail arbitrage on Amazon dead? And you saw me posting topics on, can you do a six-figure business with retail arbitrage on Amazon, as well as other little tidbits I shared with you today, leading up to Ann coming in here and sharing with us about what she does and how she has built many businesses and how she believes that Amazon is far from dead, and the 5 secrets that she believes that every Amazon seller who does retail arbitrage needs to know. So guys, give her a warm welcome. And Ann, why don't you come in and introduce yourself and let us know who and what you're doing and how excited you are about working with the Amazon sellers.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, greetings. Welcome, everybody. Thrilled to be here with John. Such a pleasure to get to know you. We've been chatting through Messenger, and we were in the same room together back in 2016, maybe or so. And so fun to reconnect with you, John, and learn more about what you're doing. So yeah, super excited to be here. And do want to mention, for John's benefit here, I think you have posted a link in your post that they can join the free training that we're going to be talking about too, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so cool. All right, yeah, my background, my husband and I have owned several different businesses and quite a gamut of industries. From real estate, we actually had a windshield business. It was actually windshield replacement business in the automotive industry for 12 years up in St. Paul, Minneapolis area of Minnesota. And then I shifted into the online space in 2004. My son became my business partner, and we did some really, really big things in the digital marketing space that I worked very heavily as an author, trainer, and coach for, it's been 15 years now. But I shifted into e-commerce the fall of 2013. But the history is such that I homeschooled my kids, my 3 sons, for 12 years, and they had an eBay business. Pretty much, this is kind of like way back when. I'm dating myself, but they had an eBay business. It was they sold swords out of our home, Lord of the Rings swords in particular, and they did really well with that. So it was they had the eBay business. I was just the one who drove the middle son to the post office to ship their orders. And my eldest son was always like, Mom, we're trying to get 5-star ratings, so hustle and get those orders in. Meaning take Rob to the post office to get those shipments made. And that's indeed what we do as sellers, is we want to have a really great reputation. So I learned of that a long time ago with my eldest son. He was only he was probably in 10th or 11th grade. And then the middle son was in 6th or 7th grade. And so they had a business doing eBay. So anyways, all to say, we shifted into e-commerce the fall of 2013. Here's what was so remarkable. And so I've been teaching people how to build online sales funnels for a very long time. And we shifted into e-commerce, and I invited my members into a webinar. It was New Year's Eve day. They all signed up. It was my leadership group that I had, and they all started hitting success literally immediately. And I will say, in part, they had the foundation of some basic fundamentals of just internet marketing, knowing how to write copy, for example, and these kind of things. So I think that did benefit them. But that basically created a big shift in my business. It took about 1.5 years to make that full shift. And I like to call it to deep blue oceans and beyond, and that being the e-commerce space. And I really like to step back and give people a big picture of why, if that's all right, John, the bigger picture, and then we'll get into all the nuances of arbitrage, which is just one method of many. But, you know, it's hard to make a shift. And I get that from people, because my husband and I have done that numerous times, from real estate to the automotive industry, and then online. Like, they're very disparate, right? What I encourage people about shifting into e-commerce, John, are most of your folks, I'm going to gather, they're already e-commerce sellers?
Yes, a lot of e-commerce, a lot of Amazon, and also a lot of them do retail arbitrage and
Okay.
still kind of have those as models for their business as well. Because I always believe in multiple streams.
I do too. We talked about that earlier on the phone. My books that I released way back in 2007 was all about being in control of your business, owning your business assets. And so what I teach my people is Amazon is a traffic source. And I say this from a lot of experience. We did offline advertising in the automotive industry, et cetera. And I look at Amazon, you are a traffic source, all right? And it's important that you keep a perspective, because what I always want my sellers to do is aim for the long play, to be in control. And I know, John, you and I feel exactly the same on that. And being in control is, to me, is Amazon a stepping stone, albeit it is one dang good stepping stone. It's the best on the planet. But you use that platform with the long play in mind, and that is to be in control, namely your own assets, your own private label products, your own email list, etc. My subscriber list has netted me far over $20 million in sales just from my email list. So I can tell you to look to the long play is really, really important. Because if I'm going to throw down my roots in an industry, I want to know that I can be there for a while, right? Because it's no fun having to uproot yourself and go learn an entirely new industry. Can you guys agree with me in the comment section? I hope that makes sense to everybody. So the cool thing about Amazon is they're so big, they have disrupted the retail chain throughout the world. I have a son who lives in China. He's a sourcing agent, and I've gone to China, and I've seen firsthand. I know the impact that Amazon has had, its ripple effect through the entire global space. Okay, and I'll just say this: there is money lined up all along this pipeline, and not just for sellers, by the way. Okay, there are so many sub-industries that support sellers, and so what I'm trying to impress upon people is, if anyone's in a what do you call it, shiny object syndrome state, well, stick around long enough, and if it doesn't work, I'm going to move on. Wrong. It's not a good idea, because there's so much money around this Amazon pipeline phenomenon. And so just really stick with it. So I don't know if you wanted any other questions, background. Are you looking at the comments?
Yeah, I would just go into what you planned. I just had somebody ask me if there'll be a replay, and there will be a replay that goes up on YouTube after, for the ones that I'm not aware of this and didn't sign up for it. This is live through Facebook, so we're making sure that we have it through Facebook.
Awesome. So yeah, I shifted into e-commerce fall of 2013. I've always been a trainer. Both my parents were teachers. I homeschooled for 12 years. I was a sports coach for 15 years. And I love building communities of people. I love creating a place where people can thrive and have the opportunity to really grow and spread their wings, and be in a very supportive learning environment. That's kind of my bent. I'll always be training, and no matter where I land in life, both my parents being teachers, etc. So I basically took all that I had learned through internet marketing 10 years prior to coming into e-com, and taking all that knowledge base with me as I developed in a community for e-commerce sellers. And so it's kind of merging, to me, the best of both worlds, because I love internet marketing. I'm very passionate about it. I think it's a blast. And that's ultimately where you end up after you've really earned your stripes and gotten into that beautiful cash flow through Amazon, is look for the long play. And that's when a lot more of the internet marketing skills come into play, and how you can build a subscriber list. Email marketing is one of my favorite specialties. There's just so much more opportunity and money beyond Amazon when you start to master even more skill sets related to internet marketing. But I'll just say, we teach people to gain their foundation through retail arbitrage. And I know it's a controversial subject, because when we were at SCO together, John, at that event, there were some big You know, there are like 3 different presenters all talking smack about retail arbitrage and the sky is falling. And this was 3 or 4 years ago. And I'm going to be really honest. My son and I, he was a top affiliate for Best Western, Walmart, etc. This is when he was 21. And we, having been internet marketers, have seen this thing called saturation. Let's just talk about saturation for a minute, shall we? So as internet marketers, we're always mindful of fatigue and saturation. And we were in a particular sub niche. But anyways, we were very concerned when we came onto Amazon that, you know, in a year, it's going to hit saturation. We both thought, as longtime internet marketers, yeah, what about saturation? You get into any kind of call with an internet marketer, they're going to address that, the elephant in the room. Yeah, but isn't this going to get saturated? And I was concerned. I thought, oh, offer fatigue, retail arbitrage fatigue, you know, no, it's not going to last. Well, I was totally wrong, or at least my fears and concerns that typically play out in the internet marketing space, and that happens very quickly because it's the internet. Everything's at scale when it's online. But with Amazon and retail arbitrage, it's just as strong as ever, albeit, let's be honest, that there are more challenges because the growth of Amazon is so huge. And all it means is Amazon is upping their game, and they're going to expect you to up your game. And this is when it gets really good, because I know as a longtime seller and business owner, this is when you can plan on other people kicking dirt and leaving, no matter what industry, because I've been in many different industries. It always happens. Anytime there's just a little higher vetting process, when the barrier to entry is not quite as easy, as a long-term business owner, I go, good. That'll help me, because I have the strength and the fortitude to keep pressing on because I know what is there. So what I'm trying to tell people is, yeah, they are, there's more scrutiny, and you have to IP infringement. We'll talk candidly. I have no problem with that. We should. And we have been able to overcome those because we have strength in numbers in our community, where there's this group share. I call it a brain trust. And if you've never experienced a mutual brain trust, it's the most powerful thing in the world. I have it in my own corporate team. You put the brain trust together and the cerebrum stacked on top of each other, aren't 1 + 1 = 2. It's 1 + 1 = 10. So that's what happens when you're in a community where you feel safe and comfortable, and when you have problems and you're properly served. All these problems can be overcome. But to get more candid and to the point is, anytime that vetting process goes up, the more serious people come out. Would you agree, John? The more serious people, they go, no problem, and they roll up their sleeves. And that's what we've seen. Our members continue to have fantastic success, especially with online arbitrage.
Yeah, the more barriers to entry, the more the lazy people fall out. They don't want,
exactly.
If it's something that's going to take some effort to do and determination, and you have to go through hoops to get to it. I love that as a seasoned seller and being around since Amazon first had books, because as a seasoned seller, you know that Amazon is making it a lot harder for those people to want to stay in, but is also rewarding you for staying in because you're doing what's necessary to stay on the platform.
Exactly. And that's the case of one of our students who he had these toys that he had been approved of for certain brands. Then all of a sudden he was gated out of toys, but he had some toys that he had just a new brand. He had gotten approved for. I don't know if it was Mattel or whichever one it was, but yay, hooray. And that happens to our people all the time, that they get approved for big brands. Okay. And so he got approved for that, but then he had gotten gated. Well, then he submitted that and boom, everything got opened up again. And so the moral of the story is fortitude and persistence pays off. And it is exactly that truthism, that when the barrier to entry goes up, you said it well, John, we'll just state it plainly, it's lazy. They're just not as motivated. I don't mean that in a disparaging way. It's just,
I didn't either.
yeah, we don't mean to disparage. It's just that it's this whole thing of resistance that for some people, they hit a measure of resistance and they're out of the game. And I always look at business as just it's a test of my fortitude. Every time I hit a bump in the road, my fortitude is being tested and I discover more of what I'm made of. And you know what? That's what we need to bank into, that development of that particular skill set than any other, because I don't care what business you get into. I've been in a lot of different industries. They all have problems.
Yeah, let me just say one thing. Like, well, we're talking about barrier to entry too. When it's easy for someone to come in and want to sell a single unit product, but what I'm talking about is when you say retail arbitrage is getting saturated, it's getting saturated with more sellers selling the same thing. However, if you're creative and you think out of the box and you stop bundling and doing things like that, your competition isn't going to do it. They're just, if it takes work and they have to do something where it has to put something together, and when you're bundling, you don't bundle stuff from the same manufacturer and make it easy for them. You buy from different suppliers and put it in there so you make it really difficult. And maybe you private label something with it to make it even more harder. So those are the things that you need to be doing and not worrying about, is Amazon getting saturated? It's not getting saturated. It's getting more competitive, but you have to think out of the box and what can I do to make my stuff stand out more on this platform that gets billions of eyeballs on it, you know, all the time.
Yeah, and Amazon is growing at a pace that outpaces the growth of the sellers. And the stick rate, I call it, the stick rate of a seller, I'm sure they have their stats because they have the most advanced algorithms of, I mean, it's a sight to behold, the stick rate of a new seller, right? And so that's really the directive, is to overcome the odds, because when you look for the long play and the innovations that you can do to have success, they're all there. You mentioned bundling, John, or there's multi-packs, and there's so many innovations that you can do to differentiate, plus get that higher perceived value, which is what bundling does, is you've made it convenient. And obviously your bundle has to make sense, what you're packaging together. And we talk about keywords, and that's what I love about bundling. You get to leverage even more keywords in your listings. Well, and when you bundle, you have your own listing, aside from when retail arbitrage. We should probably explain the model just in case there's folks listening who don't know what retail arbitrage is.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
All right. So retail arbitrage is just taking advantage of price differentials in the marketplace. It's costing Walmart, and I live 9 miles from downtown Walmart, by the way, and pardon me, downtown Bentonville. And let me just, I got to tell a quick story about this. This is kind of a fun one, if you guys don't mind, because I love Walmart for sourcing, okay? So I've done most of my ad video creatives. You want to know where? Smack dab in front of the super Walmart that is right across from their home office. And we've got our camera out on the parking lot. We're doing the whole 9 yards, right across, they're literally right across the street, right? And I go in for one video shoot, and I'm going into Walmart. And that particular day, it was during the back to school selling season. And oh, there's so much money to be made during back to selling season, or back to school season. So anyways, I'm in that section. Man, big profits on 3-ring binders, and I'm loading up my cart and everything. Well, there are scanners, not just Walmart. There's so much Walmart personnel, but they had also brought in some outside company also for doing some kind of inventory check. Yep. And I mean, like, I'm at the end cap where they're getting rid of their 3-ring binders, and there must have been like 3 or 4 store agents and this other outside company. And I thought, ha, I'm just scanning away and on my phone. And one of our members was a programmer on the Walmart team. Get this is inside goods here. And they hack into your phone, just so you know, Walmart. And I said, oh my gosh, do they know what we're doing? He said, they know all about us. So he was on the programming team for Walmart. They want to know what you're doing with your phone when you're in Walmart. And yes, they know we are scanning. So, and I knew that in advance. So I'm thinking, you know, what the heck? I'm just going to scan away, which I did. Nobody said a word. And I bring that up because I have a lot of people, and understandably so. This is, by the way, there's different forms of arbitrage. This is local retail arbitrage, where you download the Amazon seller app on your phone and you can scan a product, the UPC code, and it'll give you all these data points. And when you're properly trained how to evaluate those data points, all with an eye towards you want to mitigate your risk, always in business, right? You want to bring that risk down as low as you can, so your product is going to sell and you make a profit. That's the sum of business, right? So that's what you're doing, mitigating risk. But anyways, I'll just say, doing that video shoot at Walmart, and it was no problem at all. And so some people get nervous about that. I am a service provider. So in my mind and my posturing is all about service provider. Who am I servicing? I'm servicing Walmart to get their stuff off the shelf, right? So this is a three-party win-win. So Walmart wins, or whomever I'm sourcing from. My family wins as I'm doing sourcing and flipping for a profit on Amazon. My customers on Amazon win, and Amazon wins. So it's four different parties win.
So
supplier. And the supplier, the whole supply chain. So I am proud of what I do. And where some may feel awkward or intimidated, bring it on. Because I do this with pride in how I'm servicing people. In this whole huge supply chain, we have members who make friendships with the store managers. Store managers charge with what's called a turn rate. They've got to get those products off their shelf. Well, in comes you, the arbitrage seller, and you develop a business friendship. You can't have enough business friendships. True, John? Name of the game is it's business friendships. And so many of our retailers, arbitrage sellers, that's what they do. And you should be doing that. Smile. I've got one seller, she had 74 grand in sales last December on her own. She didn't have her family with her. She flipped $74,000 worth of products in December, all by herself, and shipping them all by herself too. And all to say, this is how we are helping with our members to have that kind of level of success. So it creates this great win-win-win.
And I'm just going to say something quick about Walmart. There's two things that some people might know, but a lot of people don't know. Walmart, if you go in there, and I know you know this, Ann, and you go in there and you see something on Walmart and you scan it and it's $19.99, and Walmart has it online for $10.99, they will honor their online pricing in the store. Also, I don't think you know, if you go in and you see a hot toy and Walmart has it, or they say, hey, this is going to be a hot movie coming out, where do you get this toy? And you say, well, you know that the toy is going to sell because it's a hot item. You can say, well, I did this last year where there was a hot toy and I ordered a pallet. How many people go into a Walmart and tell them, can you order me a pallet? Because you don't think of that. You think what's on the shelf and what's in the back room is all they have, but it's not. You have to think out of the box and think of, hey, jump the gun. If you can get it into Amazon quicker than anybody else because you've got this pallet coming in and they're only getting 5 or 6 items, you're going to turn your inventory real quickly at the pricing that you want because the movie just came out and you got that item. So there are some things when you develop those relationships with Walmart managers that are very, very crucial. And I've done it time and time again. I can't tell you how many customers look at me crazy when I walk out out of a Walmart and Walmart's bringing a pallet out the back door for me.
Yeah, I was at Costco and had all these stuffed animals, and the lady says, "You must be running an orphan, a foster home or something." I just kind of smiled, Yeah, lots of kids. I'm going to service a bunch of kids with these products, but yeah, it's a lot of fun and it works really well. I wanted to get to online arbitrage for this fact. To an extent, the local retail arbitrage is more of a linear income base kind of thing. You got to have boots to the ground, albeit you can order a pallet and that creates bigger scale, but you still got to be pounding the pavement. But what I love about LRA, local retail arbitrage, is it's just so darn predictable. It's just so reliable, so dependable. But online, our members are having tremendous success, and especially because we teach them to have a virtual assistant. And here's the biggest problem, we call them OA, online arbitragers. Their biggest problem is this: they can't keep up with the volume of products their VA is sending them. Oh yeah, and I'm 2 weeks behind, and I can't keep up with my VA. And I'm like, that's a good business problem to have. And so the online arbitrage members are doing extremely well with that particular method, and it makes them more scalable because they can take over almost every single aspect of the whole online arbitrage job duties. Just about everything could be taken over by them. In fact, we have trainers who they get to train and do what they do because their business is being run by VAs, virtual assistants down in the Philippines. And I have Philippines who help me run my training company, and it works extremely well. So that's a real game changer, is being able to get into that more scalable operation that doesn't require you to be so much at work in the business. Now, that's not to say that you need to gain mastery. I'm a really big believer in mastery, and that you learn, you master one thing, then you're on to the next thing to master, and gain mastery, and then on to the next. And that's all it is in business, is a series of skill building as you gain that mastery, and which gives you confidence. Then you're on to the next level of your business, which for me, I always teach the long play is use this as a launch pad. But people have their choice. I've got arbitragers 5 years ago still going strong. They don't want a scalable operation. To each his own, right? And they say, no, I'm the company of one, and I just want it to be me and me in control of every step. And then we have other people who have a bigger vision and they want to go further. Personally, I like for my people to at least know the pros and cons of everything, so that you make informed decisions and you're not caught unawares. Because I have a lot of background in internet marketing and such, and seen a lot of things happen over the last 15 years that it's like, for some people they're hit broadsided, and it's like, yeah, kind of saw that one coming. And so that is my personal belief, is to use Amazon as your launch pad. And you set up a strategy, whether your strategy is a year, 2, 3, 5, it doesn't really matter, but a strategy for the long play. But I got to tell you, arbitrage is like bedrock. I live in the Ozark Mountains, and all we have is rock here. Our house is built on a rock here. There's no sand or black dirt here. And that's how I see arbitrage. It's like the bedrock foundation of really getting yourself acclimated into not only the Amazon space, but e-commerce in general. Because Amazon is going to train you and teach like none other. They are the gold standard, bar none. And yeah, they're strict and stern. That's because you're going to represent their brand. They have their terms of services, and they don't want schlocky sellers. They don't want black hat sellers. They want you to just leave and go to a different playground, not their playground, because they have their customers and they are extremely customer centric. And so you basically have to think like Amazon, which is all about the customer. So you don't do any little fancy tricks, no black hat stuff here. Amazon will kick your butt. You won't even know what happened. They'll kick you silly. So you read those terms of services, you understand. And by the way, there are no terms of service against arbitrage, just so everybody is clear on that. There is no, they provide the seller app for us. So I just want to make sure people use the link in your post so they can come into this. If you're liking anything that we're talking about, I have a very extensive training, goes 8 days. I know it's a bit, but I tell you what, if you have any questions about arbitrage at all, this is extremely thorough, and it's starting this coming Friday, where we open up the doors. So you should go ahead and click that link that John has in his post here. And you're going to be in a waiting room until Friday when we open up the doors. And then we're off to the races with some really extensive, okay. That's so small. I'm trying to read it. So we got a little question in the chat box. So hang on, I'm going to make that a little bit bigger for myself. Let's see, how do I get up there now? I can't see the whole post. Why is that? Okay, hang on. Opportunity. with the real retail store. Oh, is this about the concern of retail stores not being going out of business? Is that what the reference when he says apocalypse? Is that what I'm understanding? Hope you're muted. You're muted, John.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I try to keep it so that you can have the platform. He says in 2019, a great retail ARB opportunity with the retail store apocalypse. So
oh, yes, yes. Well, it sounds really awful to say, but here's the thing. Retail arbitrage, people can make out really big, and let's just get really honest here. One of my members, it was a Hallmark going out of business. She made a killing. You know, one person's losses, another person's gains. And, you know, I get it. It pains people to see what's going on in the physical retail space. I get it because we've owned multiple businesses. But all to say, this whole shift that's going on, it's not going to stop. And the sooner we can grab on and be a piece of the shift right now, the more we're going to have in the future. Whereas the people who get left behind because they couldn't get used to a shift, they're going to be that much further behind. So it's really to our advantage. Okay, thank you for posting that. I'm going to take a peek here. Bundles or piggyback on existing. I can help explain that. So piggybacking is a term that a lot of Amazon sellers use. And just in case anyone isn't clear on what a piggybacking means, is when you scan with your phone in the Amazon seller app, you're actually bringing up an existing listing. And either that product is in the Amazon catalog or it's not, right? And so that's the first order of business. Is it even on the Amazon catalog? And then it will dish up some data. Some listings have minimal data. That's when we say move on, because it's all about data points. You're looking for the full data output for any listing, right? So you're doing that off of an existing listing. This is retail arbitrage. And your product will be attached to that listing that's already up. You're not writing a new listing. All right, but concerning bundles, then you're creating your own listing. And then there's a whole teaching and training relative to what is a good listing. There's a lot to it, okay? But it's now yours to control unless someone were to riff off of that. But like John said, he gave some good tips. You make that bundle hard to get to. Like especially if there's private label thrown into it, or if even a brand registry, game over, because Amazon is going to really take care of you if you have brand registry. So I hope that makes sense, Carol. So what John is talking about is you can level up. You can, learning arbitrage allows you to get a framework and get your feet wet, start to throw down roots, and then you start to learn other strategies. And bundling is one of them, and it's very, very powerful, especially in this selling season right now, Q4, because people they like to give a package, a full, here's your little spa package. Here's your little, the little granddaughter gets her little toy package. It has a higher perceived value as a gift instead of just, well, it's just this one little thing that I'm giving, my niece, when it really ought to be this package. That's where you can come in as a seller with the bundled offer. Keepa, yes. Concern with return on investment. Absolutely. They're different. Return on investment and profit. You want both that return on investment. So you put in $1, say $3 comes back. And my sellers, the average in our community is 32% profit. That's our average. But our more experienced sellers, and this is in my free training, by the way, is all how to stack for your profits. And there is a ton you can do to deepen your profit margins. It's kind of breathtaking. Coupons, discounts, all sorts of things. The Target, I don't think it's called Cartwheel app anymore. I think they changed the name. I don't recall, but these points, these credit cards, and you get points from that. My best sellers do more like 50 to 60% profit. And that's just purely a discipline issue, that you go that extra mile to deepen your profits, and we have training on that. You'll see that in our free training. The link is right at the top of this post here. Any tools that you love? My folks really like Jungle Scout. Well, Inventory Lab, hands down Inventory Lab. And Carol is asking about a VA. That means a virtual assistant. We go into that in module 5. So these are all modules that you're going to receive in my free training, courtesy of John, who has provided the link, right? So use that link and then get registered. Make sure you go all the way to the Facebook group, okay? Because you basically opt in. You're going to get this little mind map from me too. Then you're going to get to the Facebook page. The doors open up this Friday at 9 a.m. CT. And so module 5 is all about automated income systems. Let teams and processes run your hands-off business for you. It's really, really awesome. So a virtual assistant, the big advantage there is they're about 1/6 of American wages. And I have 3 VAs who work for me, and they are spectacular. And I have found that for a number of my members, they get kind of nervous about this idea. I'm going to have employees on the other side of the world. How am I going to be able to keep an eye on them and make sure they're doing what they're supposed to do? One of my staff members lived in the Philippines as a missionary for a number of years. He loves the Filipino people. They have a very, as a nation, I'm not saying every individual, a very strong ethics background. And they're also cultured in a way that I think some of you might find refreshing. They use respectful terms, ma'am, sir, things like that. They just do. Furthermore, how countries have as their national output, like rice or oil, their national output is virtual assistants. Okay, all righty, good deal.
I'm gonna address that real quick on my side from Carol, where she asked, are you creating your own bundles? We create our own bundles, but we also jump on other people's bundles. But what I mean by that is not as simple as what it seems. We don't jump on a bundle where you can go to one store and get everything for it. We look for bundles that have high profit margins, that I have to get it from several different suppliers, because I know if I'm willing to do the work and it took work, most chances are someone else is not going to do that same work. So if you're going to jump on a bundle that's existing, jump on something that's going to take you a little bit of work to create, not something that you can go into Walmart and pick up 7 things and put it together. Those type bundles you should not be doing, because the race to the bottom can happen quickly, where the other ones, chances are they're not going to go around to 7 different places or 3 different distributors and get those products that they need to make those bundles. I know my wife Esther does it, and she'll go around and do the extra effort to get those things to create that bundle exactly the way it is. And she doesn't get it from one supplier. We'll get it from many different suppliers to match the listing. So hopefully, Carol, that helps you in that way, because that's one way to get on existing bundles, but not the easy way, the harder way, if that makes sense. As far as tools we use, I don't really, and I know Ann could probably dispute this with me, but I've been doing this a long time too. And I don't like tools, because everybody's using those tools. I don't need to be using something that everyone is teaching about. I want to go outside of the box and think differently. So the tool, if we use any tools like a Keeper or something like that, I'm more concerned about the amount of sellers and the profit I can make. If I can buy something and be within that 1 to 3 person buy box with my profit and what they're selling it for, then I'll look at it first. I'll do that versus trying to go in and get on something that has 25 people listing and it sells, Keeper or Jungle Scout or all these say it sells 1,000, whatever. I'm more concerned about that buy box process and how close I can get to the buy box and share the buy box with the percentage of the profits that Amazon brings in on a daily basis, if that makes sense. So I found tools, they are good. Yes, you got Jungle Scout, you got Merchant Words, and you got all these, and I do highly recommend them for some people. But I also found out that they're being taught in so many different groups that if everybody knows all this, it creates more of the process of competition. So I try to go and think a little bit more out of that box and think of, how I'm buying it. And I don't even really care about rank. Rank doesn't mean anything to me. It means about, if you buy it right, you make your money in the buy. If you buy it right, you can make money. If you don't buy it right, then you got to be concerned with all those things about race to the bottom and everything else. But if you buy it right and got high margin in it, then you don't have to worry about those things. So I'm a little bit off-centered when it comes to tools. I used to be think the other way, but I'm like, everybody has Jungle Scout. Everybody has, Keepa. Everybody has Ace Inspector. They all have these tools. If they all have them and they're all doing the same process, I'll just be copying them. And they know the same thing I know. I don't want them to know what I know. I want to know how I'm doing it on my own and think out of the box. I might go out of the circle, Carol, that I know the circle that you're in. I go outside of that circle and find out who else is doing it, but they're doing it the untraditional way. And that is the way I want to do it, because not as many are teaching that way, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense, because we've seen that. And I don't, we have to be careful using names of different software programs.
I love those guys, and I'm not knocking their products.
Right.
I use them, and I still use them for certain things. But for me personally, it's more of thinking outside of that box and going outside of that circle. And there's nothing against those guys. I love them to death, and I promote their products, and they're great products. But everybody has access to these things. So it kind of like, okay, if everyone has access, that means they're seeing the same thing I'm seeing. And I just want to be a little bit different.
And I've seen the overlap. I've seen it where, they found that same data. And they leverage the same thing. I had my thing out a week and then boom, someone else came in. But it's a way to use data, but being aware of that. If you have another 5,000 people using that same system, that's what can happen. Absolutely true. I've seen it.
And when you're doing retail arbitrage, a lot of the times you're just starting out and you're a beginner. So Jungle Scout and Merchant Words and all those other ones are out there. They're great tools, and they're great to give you that data and that information. Helium 10, they're all great to give you that data and information that you need to train you to learn how to look for things and look to see whether or not something's a good deal. But as you get more of a seasoned seller and get into it, there are advanced tools that you can get. But also you want to be thinking outside the box and thinking about other ways to kind of separate yourself from the competition a little bit.
Yeah, well, breaking out of the mold. And what I tell people is it's really about gaining a sense of awareness. For example, when you go into a store, you have a completely different lens than when you were a shopper buying for yourself. Now you go in and, oh man, they just changed the end cap. Last week they had this and this. And I got to tell you, Walmart, at the local gym, one of the managers works there, and we've had several conversations, and she is one of their top managers, and they study data. And so why wouldn't I be paying attention to what's going on when I go into local stores? So you start to think more like, what are the trends? What are the shifts? What are the colors? What is this? And noting the whole retail space in a different way. Like if you're only focused on your phone, scan, pick up, scan, that's what you do for local retail arbitrage. But when you're in the store, what are the new displays? Why did that end cap change? All these kind of trends is something for you to be aware of. That then transfers to the online space too, where it's about being aware and not being told everything that you need to do, which is where you start. When we have our training, that's where you always start, is there's training that tells you what to do. But ultimately, as you want to gain more and more awareness, that you're going to start to see things that other people don't. And that's what I do in business. I'm looking for patterns. I'm looking for shifts. I'm looking for trends. It happens in all the industries. Doesn't matter which one you're in. The key is, the name of the game is to be ahead. And I will say too, with each year that an arbitrage seller repeats their experience, they are that much more in the know to be ahead of the game, because they've gone through seasons, just like we did with our windshield business, 12 seasons, 12 years worth. September was our best month. Now we adjust, all these kind of things, these trends. The same thing happens as a retail seller, and it's about being aware. Take notes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I want to just make it clear that I didn't say I didn't use these tools, because I don't want them getting all blown up and thinking that I don't, but I use them differently. I'll use them for more like competitive search to see, what the competitors are doing and what their reviews are and things like that, to help me make better buying decisions when it comes to that, to say, okay, this is the way they're making their product. This is what their customers are saying that they wish were better, or something could be out there that was made better. I use them in different ways and more unconventional ways than probably what most people do. So I like I say, I love those tools, but I just use them differently than a lot of sellers do.
Yeah, that comes with being a craftsman. The more you're working your art, the more you know how to use your tools in different ways. So, any other questions, or want to make sure people know this free training is coming up. We open the doors on Friday, so make sure you use the link and you go through the process so you get to the Facebook group. Then we open up the doors, and it's extremely thorough, very, very comprehensive. I know people really love, I'm looking at my different modules here. Module 4, the 10x profit multiplier, 6 little known ways to multiply your income through retail arbitrage. And this is where people can go from 32% profit up to 50 to 60%, so that they're keeping, more of those profit margins instead of just settling for 32. 32 is awesome. It's fantastic. That's when selling a business, typically they're looking for, is there a 30% profit margin in the company? This is kind of a different conversation there relative to selling businesses, but when you're getting a healthy 50% plus in your business, you've got a great business going on. And that's what a good number of my sellers do when they implement what we have in module 4 in my free training series. So you definitely want to get registered. Also in module 2, we got the secret of the laptop lifestyle, fill in the blank cheat sheet for finding the most profitable products to sell quickly. This is actually our own in-house resource tool that we have. It's a tool that we don't have available. We don't sell outside of our community, but we're going to go through that as well. That's in module 2. So really awesome training coming up.
Yeah, guys, and I'm pretty sure she addresses the IP part of the equation for retail arbitrage and stuff like that, because that alone is worth its weight in gold. It's just knowing how to get around the IP complaints that we get when we're selling things that we shouldn't, or Amazon says that we can't sell in that brand. It's very easy to be able to get you approved in that, and that's some of the things that you need to know, is that there are barriers up there, and you can still get through them. And by getting brand approved, guess what? Now you can go to the Walmart and start buying that brand again, because now you have the letter from your distributor saying that you can sell the product. So now Amazon sees that and they approved you. So there's ways around to get you into brands that maybe you think you can't sell, or you're like, wow, they keep cutting me out. They keep taking me restricted. I know the routine. I know how it is on Amazon, and it's frustrating when you go in the store and you see this and you go to scan it and you were selling it before. You actually could sell it.
Right.
And now Amazon says, no, you're not. You're restricted. Well, there's ways around that.
There are, absolutely. I've had people where all of a sudden they've got 40 brands open up in one single day. Now, I can't say carte blanche, that's going to happen for everybody, but we've seen that. And with the IP infringement, where one member was able to get to a special resource center within Amazon, they're extremely helpful. She's on the phone with them, boom. She got that issue resolved, and very quickly. So it really is being in a group of people where you can share and hear, instead of when you're alone. Yeah, that's very intimidating that you don't have this, I call it the mutual brain trust of people who have had experiences, and that they are all shared. There's not a hold it to the vest kind of situation, but rather that everybody is mutually wanting to see everybody succeed and move forward. And so there's this very high level of generosity of people sharing their tips for what helps each other. So that, because there's plenty to be had in the Amazon pie. That's complete, no problem there with the growth that Amazon is having. So there are solutions to every problem that you face. And I just have to reiterate what John said earlier, is it echoes on the sentiments of the bundling. You got to play the game up a higher level, making that bundle harder for another seller to go out and replicate you. You got to be thinking ahead. You don't want to make it low-hanging fruit where they go, oh, I see they just got it. I'll give you a perfect example. Dollar Tree. And so I saw it the one year at Dollar Tree. It was right at this season of the year, Thanksgiving, and there's the leaves, and and I'm scanning. I'm like, oh, look, there's a bundle. And I'm in that aisle with all the Thanksgiving stuff. They're all at the Dollar Tree. It wasn't hard to figure out what that Amazon seller had done and how easy they made it for someone else to come and riff off, R-I-F-F, riff off of their listing of their bundle, because it was in plain view. It was at Dollar Tree. So got to think outside the box and make it harder. Don't go for the low-hanging fruit. Go for higher.
Yeah, and when you do that, you got to think like what Ann was saying. When you go to Dollar Tree and maybe you're the one that created that bundle, and you say, "Oh, I got this all to myself," and all of a sudden you made it. Think about this possibility. You made it so that it's easy for somebody, so they go and they go, "Wow, I can do this. They're all right here. I'll put this together." But then they put it on there and say, "Oh, this ain't selling the way I wanted to. I'm gonna just reduce it." Well, what's it gonna do to your product?
Exactly.
It's
Race to the bottom.
So if you don't want your product to have a race to the bottom, think out of the box. Think of how difficult it was for you to do it. And if it's that difficult for you, think about the average person. They're just not going to do it. They're just going to be, if it's not simple enough for them to put on and make some cash, they're like, "Oh no, I don't have time. I'm not doing that."
Yeah, and I want to give a little background story. You know, if this is what people's fear or concern is, and I do want to say too, because I see this. I see where new people never run a business before is just so terrified of risk. Quite frankly, I just tell them this isn't the game for you, because when they want every single risk removed, well, life isn't that way, and business certainly isn't that way. And I'm not trying to say this in any kind of put down or disparaging way, but when someone comes in with that much fear, rather than seeing how much opportunity there is, which we get amazing success stories, instead they allow themselves to be held back because they read a little thing or two and it's game over for themselves. It's just, you know, I call it getting knocked out of their buggy and they're on the side of the road. And for some people, that path of resistance has to be almost nil. They don't have the fortitude or persistence to forge forward. So, but I am going to tell you as a piece of encouragement is when you are with a group of people who are on the same journey and path as you, there's encouragement. There is safety in numbers. There really is. There's safety in numbers. And I tell people in the 21st century, with the amount of shift and change we have going on, you dare not be doing anything alone these days, because you can't keep up with it all by your lone little self. You have to be in a network of people, a community of people, sojourners, people on the same journey and path to help support you. I can't say that enough. But all right, so I'm going to speak to my initial industry when I came online. And that one did hit saturation after there was the proverbial Google slap of 2008, and the ecosystem got real interesting. And so a lot of people in that niche moved on, as what happens. But my competitor stuck it out, and he's doing really, really well, which means it's that exact same scenario that the people, when the barrier of resistance goes up any too much, they leave. They just increase the opportunity for everybody else who's willing to stick with it. So in some ways, I don't mind saying these things about just being really candid and frank with you guys, because it's going to arm you up to be stronger when you come into work your Amazon business, because the rewards are truly virtually limitless in the Amazon space. It is different. John, can I just ask you, have you had more than one opportunity open up as you've been an Amazon seller? Is there like anything else that has opened up that you have added into your business model than just selling stuff on Amazon? Just curious.
Oh yeah, we sell on Amazon, Walmart, our own website.
So you've expanded.
You had to. I mean, because we don't want the fear that if Amazon decides to say tomorrow, we just don't want you as a seller. I mean, and if that's your livelihood, you're up the river without a paddle. So
you want to diversify, multi-channel, multi-distribution, and you do it incrementally. When you've got some strength in, boom, now I think I'll, fulfillment by Walmart, right? There's a lot of different channels that you can sell on and expand your business into. But arbitrage, for me, that is the bedrock foundation. I tell people over and over, I say, even if you don't do it really long, let's say you do it 3 months, you're going to at least set your foundation. It's going to set your foundation, and it opens up so much opportunity beyond that.
Yes, and I'm just what Carol said about fear and that says fear cripples. I just want to speak to that, excuse me, a little bit and tell you, Carol, that I'm working behind the scenes of something that's not public yet, but I'm working on something, because before you can be a seller or be successful at anything or take on anything, there's always going to be fear and success. And I'm working on something called the Mind Shift. And I'm going to be putting out the Mind Shift. I'm partnering with somebody on this. And it's going to take us and show you about fear and success and how you handle both of those. And because you have to be prepared for both before you can be successful in any business. Because we all know you have that great sale on Amazon. Man, I made $500 on that and I sold 10 of them. Great, that's $5,000. But then all of a sudden you had 16 returns come back the day after, and you had, $10,000 in returns. And I'm just using weird numbers. We all know you do this, the roller coaster. Well, what I'm going to be partnering with this person, and we're going to create you to be this way, straight line, where whether it's fear or success, you stay straight line. You don't change your identity. Your identity always stays the same, but the fear and the success becomes neutral, and you don't have to depend on either or. And I think a lot of people are in that mindset of either fear or they have some success and they don't know how to handle it. Because the other thing is fear is real powerful. So, but also success is real powerful, because what about the fear of success? What if I could do it? Then what?
I've seen people sabotage. They're so close and they sabotage.
They're so afraid because they've never experienced that success. It's like a fear. And you can't imagine that success should be a fear, but it's a reality for a lot of people. They get to that point where they have some success. It's like, oh no, I can't handle this. I've never experienced this before. So that's the kind of thing we're going to break down.
That's awesome. I know when I first came online and I was learning consultative selling. This is way back when in 2004. And there were people who were terrified of working the phone. And I thought, well, either I'm going to walk through this door of fear, or fear is going to own me. And I'm like, I'm not going to let fear own me. And it was because I had a bigger cause. I had a bigger purpose behind it. And I refused to let this doorway of fear hold me back from my bigger objective, which was to get my husband home, was what I was aiming for. And then I thought, this is going to try and get in my way? I don't think so. And so I had a bigger fear of failing, actually. I didn't want to fail. It was my bigger cause, my purpose. It was huge. And so these other fears became very small when I kept my main focus in mind, that, it's as good as done. Because
that's part of that training is that strong why. There's elements to this. There's components to it. The why, your strong why, that's one of the biggest components. And also having support behind it, having someone you can hold you accountable, so that when you say you're going to do something, you can reach out and they can reach out to you and make sure that you do accomplish what you do. And maybe you don't, but being there to support you when you have those downtimes. There's a lot about when you talk about a mind shift and the way you have to be able to be successful. And a lot of people don't have that and don't get that. They have that roller coaster up and down thing. And I've been there. I know what that's all about, that roller coaster. But it doesn't have to be that way when you have a strong support system. You have mentors. You have people there that are there to help you along the way. And that's kind of the same thing with this retail arbitrage. You have Ann here who put together this great program with all these excellent modules to help you. And she's there with you. So it's like anything that's going on, she's there to support it. Her team is there to support it. So you really have nothing to lose when you have somebody that's walked the walk and lives 9 miles from Walmart's headquarters. I would just be on her good side just to find out what's going on down there.
Oh, I tell you, they are secretive, because I got so curious talking to this gal and I said, oh, I would love to. Oh, I'd like to come in and take a peek. She said, oh, and I'm like, oh, shucks. And I was like, well, do you think they'd hire my son? Walmart is a fascinating company. They are very, very fascinating. But all to say, being in the retail space, I think behind my bookshelf there, and there, those are knitted Christmas bells. I don't know if you can even see them. They're green, white, and red. I knitted those when I was 7 years old. And my mother set me up as a little entrepreneur. She gave me a little box, paper box, and I had knitted like 20 of them or however many. She taught me how to make the change. And I went out into my neighborhood as a little 7-year-old girl, and I did not have my mother with me. Back then it was, kids got to, it was safer, so called. Anyway, so I'm out there with my Christmas bells. They're right up on my bookshelf as a reminder. And I was a retailer. I was a merchant. And I went out with my Christmas bells and I sold every single one of them. But you know what else I did, John? Do you notice? So I'm going to quick grab them. Hold on one second here. Okay. So we were talking about a certain topic earlier, and I want to show you something about this. I sold them 50 cents a piece, but you know what? When you bought the bundled pack, I sold them for $1 when I was 7 years old. They got a little bell inside, so I hand knitted these, and I was selling a bundled offer when I was 7 years old. And so when I came home, this box had a sound in it. And you know what? It wasn't the sound of the Christmas bells. It was the sound of dollar bills and coins. I sold every one of my bells.
That's awesome. At 7 years old, you're already an entrepreneur.
Yeah. It's
and
fun.
That's the beauty of this business. That's why I love it. And for the people that are listening to this and on here in the live or watch the replay, one of the reasons why what Amazon's done for a lot of people is it's been able to bring moms and dads home. It's been able to let you dictate your life the way you want to. Not that working for somebody's a bad thing. I'm not saying that, because there are people that love to do it and love their jobs, and I get that. But if there's people like me out there who want to be able to see their granddaughter or their grandson at a recital or a baseball game, and it happens to be on a Tuesday at 1 o'clock, and I'm supposed to be working for somebody because I have a job working for somebody, I would rather be able to watch my grandson and granddaughter grow up and be able to go to those things than miss those things. And that's my strong why. Everybody has to have a why. I love being able to do that. I love being able to do it at 2 o'clock in the afternoon Central Time, when most people's at their work jobs. And again, nothing against that. I'm doing a live with Ann here, helping you guys and getting you guys to be able to live the lives that you want to live.
Absolutely. And with the Amazon or with the arbitrage online method, you can have that time freedom as well. And we have our members doing very, very well. Most of them do all three of our arbitrage methods, but the online has really been a big game changer for our members, because then they can even outsource the shipping and not having to touch their products. And it's just all hands off. So I hope all of you are able to take advantage. You owe it to yourself if you're interested at all in learning more. The link is on this post that John has. So go ahead and take advantage of that. And I'd love to see you all. This coming Friday is when the doors open, but take advantage right now so you don't forget. And it looks like Carol was loving on your the mindset stuff.
Yeah, it's a big topic. A lot of people have it. There's a lot of fear. Yeah. Especially in business, there's a lot of fear in success, and as well as just not able, people saying you can't do it. Or that's the biggest thing when family says. I love when you talk to people about Amazon and they say, "You make money? How do you make money on Amazon?" It still to this day blows my mind when I hear that.
I know.
They have no concept of what Amazon is and what it can do for their families. And you can try to get your family to do it. You don't force them. But if they don't see it and they don't realize what you're doing and they don't see it for themselves, you're not going to get them to do it. They got to want to do it.
Yeah. Well, by show of hands, we do many events throughout the year. And at one of our recent events, I asked for how many of you are doing this as a family. It was 40% of the members in the room were doing this as a family. So whether it's father, son, mother, daughter, brother, sister, I mean, and I'll tell you, because it works and because people can be home with their families. So it's just this amazing vehicle. We have a lot of senior citizens. Speaking of local retail arbitrage, we've had people in wheelchairs doing this program. One of our trainers, she taught her mom, who's now 79, and in 5 hours of work, she's made $1,000 in profit. Pretty sure that outdoes any kind of Social Security check for someone at that age. And so it's very, I call it the redistribution of opportunity, not redistribution of wealth. That's like wanting to take from others. This is the redistribution of opportunity, and Amazon is doing that, providing that through the third-party seller platform, that it's shifting this amazing shifting economy that so many people don't know of. We were interviewing for CPAs in the village that we now live in. She was shocked. She had never heard of the third-party seller, and I was showing her the Amazon seller app. She was floored, as was our CPA up north in Minnesota. He said, "Oh wait, I can't wait to have my wife do this and make me money instead of spending money." And so it is pretty amazing, and we want to get the word out. We are changing the family economy in a really big way. So it's been, I don't see the comments on Facebook. I've just seen here, but hopefully you got a lot of people and questions.
Yeah, Brianna's handling that on that side, and she's actually answering a lot of them as we go along. But yeah, it's been a real pleasure. And guys, it's all about networking too, and just being in a community. Like Ann came to me from a good friend of mine, Neil Twa, and Neil's the one that I've known him for quite some time. I hope I'm saying his name right. Am I saying his name right?
Neil Twa, that's correct.
I get his name wrong. And he basically told me, you have to get Ann on your show. What she offers and what she can do for your community is awesome and something that people need to know and hear about. So that's why she's here. That's why we did this actual presentation here on a Tuesday. You know, I have my show on Mondays, but I was so pumped up and so overwhelmed with the information that he gave me, and also getting to see what Ann has done and looking at some of her research and things. And I'm just excited. I'm excited to bring people in that want to help people succeed. And if you get a chance to read Ann's story, read her story and her bio and what her beliefs are in her mission statement. And I think you'll find out what kind of person she is and how she's here. And her number one goal is to be able to help you guys succeed. And I truly believe that 100%. And that's why I'm so excited to have her here and hopefully be working with her in the future.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, John. It was a pleasure.
You're welcome. Thanks, guys. Until my next show Monday. I think I have one Monday. I'm not sure. I can check with Brianna. As always, God bless. We wish you the best in your businesses. And if you don't see the link up below on the Facebook or in the replay, please let me know and I will get that information to you, because I am one to believe that this is something, if you want to get into Amazon or you're doing Amazon and Amazon's retail arbitrage has become hard to you and you think it's not, you can't make money with it anymore, Ann's here to show you that yes, you can. Just look at what she put together, and I think you'll be really pleased. Thanks, guys, and have a blessed day.
I think it's still going, or did it?